Every day, he left his apartment at exactly the same time. Same hallway, same elevator, same street. For years, nothing ever changed. That's why it took so long for him to notice it. At first, it felt harmless, almost flattering, like coincidence. But routines are only invisible to the people living them. Someone else had been paying attention. And the terrifying part wasn't that his routine was predictable. It was that someone knew it better than he did. The last detail wouldn't appear until much later. But once it did, there was no way to deny the truth. He had never been alone in his routine. The security footage was reviewed the next morning. Nothing unusual stood out at first. The train arrived on schedule, its doors opened, no one got on, no one got off. The cameras inside the cars showed empty seats, no movement, no disturbance. But when investigators slowed the footage down, frame by frame, they noticed something that didn't align with the official report. At one point, the train's interior lights dimmed for less than a second. Not enough to trigger an alert. Not enough to stop the system. But enough to hide something small. Something human-shaped. And whatever it was, it didn't appear on any other camera. That brief loss of light should have been meaningless, a common electrical fluctuation, the kind that happens hundreds of times a day. But when technicians isolated the exact moment, they noticed something the report never mentioned. For less than half a second, a shape appeared near the far end of the car. It wasn't a reflection, it wasn't a shadow from outside the train. It had depth, it occupied space, and the most disturbing part wasn't how it appeared, but how it disappeared. Not by moving away, not by fading, it was simply gone. By the time the train finally arrived, something felt wrong. Not danger, not fear, just the quiet certainty that whatever was happening wasn't accidental. The platform was still empty, no footsteps, no voices, only the sound of the train doors opening and waiting. Inside, the car was lit, clean, and perfectly normal. Too normal. No signs of damage, no warning lights, nothing broken. But there was something unsettling about how untouched everything looked. Like the train had been prepared. Not for passengers, but for someone specific. As the doors closed, the train began moving, slowly at first, passing stations without stopping. Lights flickering briefly as if the system was hesitating. That's when the realization settled in. This train wasn't following its route anymore, and whoever was inside wasn't meant to leave at the next station. By the fourth or fifth stop, something began to feel off. Not something you could explain, not fear, not panic, just a quiet awareness that the train no longer felt empty. There were no footsteps, no reflections in the glass, no sounds behind me. And yet the silence had changed. It felt heavier, as if the space itself was paying attention. I remember checking my phone, no signal. The time hadn't moved in minutes. That's when I noticed something strange. The train wasn't slowing down anymore. It passed stations without stopping. Lights flashed by outside the windows, platforms empty, names unreadable. And for the first time, a thought crossed my mind that I didn't like. What if this train wasn't taking me anywhere? I tried to stand up just to prove to myself that I still could. That's when I realized how quiet everything had become. Not just silent, muted. The usual vibration of the train was gone. No rattling metal, no distant hum, just smooth movement, like gliding through air. I placed my hand against the window. It was cold, too cold. Outside, the tunnel walls looked wrong, too clean, too still. And then I noticed something else. My reflection in the glass wasn't moving exactly when I did. It lagged. Just a fraction of a second. enough to make my stomach drop, because reflections don't hesitate. I didn't hear it at first. That was the worst part. No footsteps, no voice, no sound at all, just the feeling that something had changed behind me. You know that sensation when you're alone, but suddenly you're not sure anymore? That exact moment, I stayed still, afraid that if I moved, I'd confirm it. The lights inside the car flickered once, not enough to go dark, just enough to notice. And in the reflection of the window where only my face should have been, there was movement. Not a shape, not a person. Just motion where there shouldn't be any. That's when I realized I was no longer traveling alone. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Trains malfunction, systems fail, old tunnels lose signal all the time. That's what I kept repeating in my head, over and over, like a script I was afraid to forget. I checked the emergency panel near the door. No instructions, no lights, nothing that suggested it had ever been meant to be used. I tried the intercom, pressed the button, held it. No response, not even static. That's when the thought crept in, quietly, without panic. What if this train wasn't broken? What if it was doing exactly what it was supposed to do? I looked down the length of the car, at the empty seats, the darkened corners, and for the first time I realized I had stopped thinking about getting off. I was only wondering how long it would keep going. I told myself it was nothing. Just exhaustion, just imagination, just the brain filling in gaps when it has nothing else to do. I focused on the rhythm of the tracks, on the familiar sway of the train, on anything that felt normal. For a few seconds, it worked. My breathing slowed, my shoulders relaxed. The feeling faded enough for me to almost forget it. Almost, because the reflection came back, this time clearer, this time closer. And it wasn't moving randomly anymore. It was matching me, every small shift, every breath, as if whatever was there had finally noticed that I was watching too. Something still didn't make sense. Stations kept passing, names flashed on the screen, lights turned on, then off, but no doors ever opened. Not once, no footsteps, no voices, no distant echo from an empty platform at night. It felt like the train was stopping only to pretend it had stopped, like it wanted me to think everything was normal. I checked the route map again. Every station was still listed. Every line was still there. Nothing looked broken. Nothing looked wrong. And that was the problem. My body reacted before my mind could. My breathing felt too loud. My thoughts felt delayed. And in the window's reflection, that movement appeared again. Closer now, slower, no shape, no face, just motion, waiting. I knew I shouldn't turn around. Not because I was scared, but because some instincts exist long before logic. The air inside the car felt heavier, thicker, like it resisted every breath I took. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it felt occupied. The lights flickered. Once, then again, long enough to make my eyes ache. For a moment, the reflection disappeared completely. No face, no movement, no shadow, just empty glass. That terrified me more than seeing something, because if there was no reflection left, then whatever had been watching me was no longer behind the window. It was standing somewhere inside the car, close enough to feel. The train finally slowed down for real. This time, there was no hesitation, no pretending, no full stop. The sound changed, heavier, final. The doors opened, cold air rushed in, sharp and sudden, like the outside didn't want me there, like it was warning me to stay where I was. But I stepped out anyway. I didn't look back, didn't think, didn't hesitate. The doors closed immediately behind me, and the train pulled away before I could even process what had happened. The sound of it faded into the tunnel, leaving behind a silence that felt too intentional. I stood alone on the platform. No people, no announcements, no footsteps, just my own breathing, still uneven, still shaking. I tried to convince myself that it was over, that I was safe, that whatever had been inside that car had stayed there. That's when I noticed the glass wall across the platform, dark, reflective, perfectly still. My reflection stared back at me. Only one person standing there. Same posture, same clothes, same expression. But then it changed. The reflection smiled, slowly, deliberately, as if it had been waiting for me to notice. And I realized something that made my chest tighten. I hadn't escaped the train had escaped with it. And now, it knew where I was,